All right, guys, welcome back to the second session where you need to SIP computer system, right? Okay, good. So welcome back to the second session. So this is my VMware Workstation. I'm going to open this, so you double click. So you can see still I've not created the machine, so I'll need to create a machine. Now first let me introduce you guys to the networking section of the VMware Workstation. So if you click on edit and you go for virtual network editor, good. So here is where you have to do certain magic here, right? So now click on change settings. Yes, good. So now let's look at this. We have bridge. So bridge means it's going to connect directly to my network card, right? My physical network card on my machine. Okay, we have host only. Host only is for connecting to VMware to VMware, right? If I create two virtual machines and I want them to communicate, then I'll set both to what host only and then assign IP address for them to start communicating. Then I have NAT. So NAT 2 is used for communicating, but if it's used for what? Internet purpose. So if my machine here has internet and I want internet on my virtual machine, then I'll set it to NAT so I can have internet. Now bridge also can give you internet, but this one actually you can use the virtual machine to communicate on your physical network. Whether it's a wireless network or it's a wired network, you can use it to communicate directly to receive IP address from your physical network if there is what DHCP, or you can assign static IP address based on the subnet you are on. Okay, now there's something you have to note here. Now if we click on host only, you can see NAT, you leave it as default, and then bridge you leave it as default. But when it comes to host only, this is what I want to show you. Now you see, use local DHCP server to distribute IP address to VMs. Now if you want to configure DHCP in your virtual environment, right, then you have to uncheck this box. But if you are not going to use DHCP in your virtual environment, we are just going to use your static throughout, okay, no DHCP, then please, then you can leave this box what like this, like default. You don't need to come and temper. But if you are going to use a DHCP configured in the virtual environment and you want your virtual machines to receive IP address from your DHCP server in your virtual environment, then please, you need to uncheck this box and then you go for it, apply, because I'm going to do that. Now the next thing here is, you can see here I have VMnet 0, VMnet 1 and a VMnet 8. Now VMnet 8 is set to what? NAT. So NAT has that number by default, and then bridge is 0 by default. Now I have 1. Now these are your virtual switches. So it means when you create virtual machines and you set them to be using what? Net 0, all of them will be on this switch. If you set them to be net 1, all of them will be on this switch. And if you set them to net 8, all of them will be on this switch. But if you want to add your own, so you go for add network, then you give it a name. You can see here I have what? Net 2, because it's following by what? The sequential number. I have 0, 1. So if I want that, I'll go for OK. So now I have what? VMnet 2. Okay, now you can see here, even though it's host only, is on what? Net 2. So this one too is a what? Different switch. So if I highlight this, if I come down, you see using what? DHCP service, right, on this very switch. So I'll uncheck this as well, because probably I might use DHCP on my own. If I check this, you can see here, check the column here, DHCP. This one is enabled now. If uncheck this, is disabled. So you can see for the bridge is disabled, my host only is disabled, but for the NAT I've leave it as default as it is, because these two I'll be using it for networking purpose. If I need another switch, so I'll just go in for add network. So VMnet 3, okay, then I will uncheck this. So should in case I have my personal DHCP, this wouldn't conflict with that. So I'll go for apply. Okay, so if I don't want this and I want to restore everything back to default, I'll just click on this button and everything will go, and it will be left with what? The default switches in there, right? So if I want to import, I can import a particular what? Configuration, or export this configuration and keep it down, right? But for this I'll go forward. Okay, I'm done with my networking purpose. Okay, the next thing is to create what? Virtual machine, right? So I'll go for create new VM, right? Now I recommend you going for typical, but if you have been using VMware Workstation for a long time, then you can go in for the custom, right? Later we'll come and have a look at the custom as well. Okay, so typical, you can see here is for what? Recommended. Custom is for advanced, those who have idea, who are the gurus, who have been using VMware Workstation for a long time. They know the purpose of using this. So let's go for typical for now. Okay, next you see install from. That is if I have a physical CD-ROM attached to this very machine, okay, I can install from there. You can see install from CD or CD image file, that's ISO. I have ISO images, so I can just browse and add it. But for best practice, going for I will install operating system later. Okay, that's the best practice. Okay, please, going forward, the best practice, you going forward, I will install operating system later. So go for next. So now I have my guest operating system. You see, you have your Windows, I have your Linux, I have VMware ESX, okay, and others. So as is on Windows, if I click on this button here, you can see I have all the Windows flavors, right? So I have all the Windows flavors, but I'm not seeing Server 2022 in here. I think they've not updated that platform yet, so we can still go in for that. Okay, so I'm going to install Windows 10 and later, so that means even Windows 11 I can use this for that. So I'll go in for next. If I want Linux, when I click on Linux, you can see I have all the Linux flavors in here. So which of the Linux flavors I want to use, I can go in for there. So if your Linux is not listed in this list and you know the kernel, okay, version, right, you can select the kernel version and then go in for that. So you can see here I have VMware ESX, okay, that is those who want to be practicing vSphere. Okay, if you want to be practicing vSphere, so you can go in for this. You can select any of these and then you can apply, and then you can practice your vSphere within your virtual machine. Others, you can see we have other operating system like Solaris. Okay, so you can see we have the 11, 10, 9, 8. Okay, depending on which one you want. So this, I'm going for Windows. That's Microsoft Windows. So I'm going for next. So here, virtual machine name. If this is the name I want for my virtual machine, I'll maintain it, because that will be the same name that will be created at the location. So if this is not the name, so I'm going to put in my name here, the PC01. So you can see it shows the path, the location where it's going to create this very machine. So I'm going for next. So if I don't want that location, I can still browse. Okay, so now here, hard drive. Okay, by default I'm giving 60 gig. Okay, this is a virtual disk. Now you see here, split virtual disk into what? Multiple files. Right now, for me, I don't like splitting my drive. I want my drive should be a whole single file, right? So that I can even copy the drive and send it somewhere. Okay, it's best when you make it what? Store virtual disk as what? A single file. If it's multiple, you wouldn't know which one to copy. In security sense, it's good. Okay, but this is for practical purpose, so I just like to maintain it as a one file. Next. So now you can see we are done. You just give me summary of what we have selected, and then we are good to go. So you can see if I want to customize any hardware that is in here, if I want to change something, I can go here, and then what? I can now change anything that I don't like in the summary. But if I'm okay with everything, I'll just go for close and then what? Finish. So you can see I've created what? My first machine here. And then if I should browse, go to my Explorer, Documents, VMs. So you can see PC01. So you can see this is what? My virtual machine. So you can see this is my hard drive created as a single file, because I don't want what? Multiple files. So I can close this. Now this is my machine I've created. So if I don't want anything here, I can as well go for it. Edit virtual machine settings. I click here. Good. You can see here I have my RAM. If I don't want this size, I can increase the size to whichever size I want. Okay, my processor. Okay, here is very important. You can see here I have number of processors 2. I have core 1. Okay, and then total processor is 2. So that means I have 2 processors in here. So I'll maintain everything by default as it is. So network, very important. So you can see if I want this very machine to use my physical network card for internet or to access resources on the network, so I'm going for this. On my physical network, I'm going for this, and then I'll click on this so that it can actually work on my physical network using my physical machine for accessing resources on the network, whether it be internet, printing, or even using it for any other purpose. I can do that. Okay, if I don't want that, I just have to uncheck this. So by default it's at NAT. Okay, NAT is simply telling me that I just want internet on this very purpose. I know I can't use it for accessing physical resources. Okay, it's just for internet purpose. So if I want my VM and VM to communicate, like VMware Workstations to communicate, then I can set it to wholesale. Custom is when you have created your own custom switch. So you can see here I created 2, 3. Okay, these 2. This one is created by default. Okay, So if I want to use the 2, I'll just select that and then go for OK. But for this, I'm going to use what? Host only. Host only is the same as when you select this, by default is the same as the VMnet 1. So it's the same. So whether you go to custom and you set it to VMnet 1 or you are using host only, is going to communicate by default to communicate with what? Your virtual machines for you, right? So normally I'm just going for host only if I just don't want to communicate within what? Virtual machines. If I want other components to be added, I can go in for add. So if I want more hard drive, I'm going for what? Next. So this is recommended. Next. So create a virtual disk, use an existing one. That is if I have already created one and I want to use, or use what? A physical hard drive for this purpose. So I just going for create next. So you can see here the same. I have the size. If I don't want this size, I can increase. I want it to store my virtual disk as a single file. So next. So this you can see is done, and then what? Finish. When I click finish, it will create it for me. I'm not creating one, so I will cancel that. If I want any other component like maybe CD-ROM, if I want to add it, I can add. If I want USB more ports, I can add that. If I want printer, I can add more other devices to my VM Workstation. So if I want another adapter, I can add that. Go for finish. Okay, when I go for finish, you can see now I have 2 network cards. Maybe set this one to what? Host only, and then this one to NAT. So you can see there are 2 different network cards. So this is how you can add, and then you have your options, right? So the options, you can see here my machine name is there, the product I'm using and all that, so I can switch between what? The product. So you can see power option, that is enter into full screen. If I want this machine, the moment I power it, I want it to enter into full screen, you can do that. Close after power off or suspend, so it will close. So report battery information to what? Guest. So to tell me battery information, you can see here I have what? Power control buttons. If I want to change them, I can actually change that. Okay, so you can see shutdown here, it can be what? Power off. So anyhow I want to customize my VMware, I can do that. So here folder, if I want to share a folder with my physical machine, I can do that. Click on enable and then add the particular what? Folder that I want to add. Okay, the path. So I need to browse and then look for the folder that I want to share, and then I'll share. Okay, but later we'll look at how to copy stuff from your physical machine to the VM. Snapshot, very important. So you can take snapshot of your machine. So this is an environment where you can do that, but aside that, there's a button at the top where you can do that as well. So we have auto protect, you can set that to what? Enable. Guest isolate, you can do that. So all this you can go through step by step if you actually want to what? Customize your VM workstation to suit the way you want it to behave. So this I'll go for cancel, because I don't want to change anything here. So if I'm going for VM, okay, so now you can see now we have some buttons which are not graded, right? Formerly it was graded out because we didn't create any machine. Okay, so you can see a snapshot. So to just take what? The current state of this very machine, when I click snapshot, so I'll just give it a name that to take what? The current state of this machine, so that if I'm using this machine for a practical purpose and maybe the machine mess up one time, I can still come back to what? The snapshot, and then the machine will be clean as new. So typically these are some few things and few tips you need to know about what VMware Workstation, right? So next time I'll be showing you how to install an operating system within the virtual machine, right? So thanks for watching my video. Subscribe, share, like the video, and spread the news. See you guys. Keep on sipping. Okay, bye bye.